one of my tias sees my little cousin crawling from the second bedroom into the restroom. And she's like, oh my god, like, let's stop him because he is a crawling baby and the bathroom is not where a crawling baby belongs. And so she rushes over to stop him from going in there, and there is no one in the restroom. Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new, what's up? Welcome. I hope you stay because it's really fun here. At least I think so. But yeah, welcome to day 3 of the 31-day Ghosts Glam series. So if you have no idea what that is, basically I took a concept that is very popular here on YouTube, which is like story time and makeup, and I'm just putting my own little twist, I guess. I don't know. But pretty much I'm sharing with you guys 31 horror, paranormal, ghost, scary stories that have happened to me or that I've experienced. And just really, like, this is how we're kickstarting my YouTube channel again after a year. I'm so excited. But today I'm feeling like I'm gonna do like a little blue look, and I'm gonna share a story that kind of goes hand in hand with tomorrow's story. But today we're gonna go into the very basics. This might be a shorter one. I just wanted to share this with you guys. Yesterday we went into the story of La Llorona when my cousins and I encountered her, so that was super fun. If you want to check that out, we'll leave the little link thingy somewhere on the screen. Let's dive into it. And right before we do that, if you have not yet, please subscribe to my channel if you like stuff like this, or if you like lifestyle content, vlogs, or just are interested in seeing how I navigate life with a physical difference, then you should subscribe. Plus, I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers by the end of October, so that would help out a lot. Okay, let's dive into it. So I'm gonna start with my eyes, and then we'll go into, well, everything else. So this story starts when I was really, really little, as most of my stories do in the beginning of this series. When I was little, I was 3. That is when my little sister was born, when I was 3. So I'm 3 years older than her. And I love that child so much. She's not a child anymore. She's like 20 something. So when I was 3, or before I was 3, my mom and we lived in an apartment. So I grew up being an apartment kid, and it was fun, you know, whatever. We lived there, but when she was pregnant, she knew that we needed a bigger house. Like, an apartment's good for a new mom who is 26 with her firstborn. But like, if there was gonna be 2 little babies, we needed more space. And so when my mom's pregnant, my mom and my dad decide to get a house. And the house was being built in a new subdivision, or whatever they're called, in a new neighborhood. My hometown was growing, kind of thing. So they pick out their location, they pick out the style of the home, and they really just like start creating this house for our family. And it was all cute, you know. I don't remember much, I'm 3, but I do remember moving into that house. And honestly, till this day, my mom still lives there. And that house is like the perfect Barbie dream house, in my opinion. In my head, it's always been like that. And it wasn't, but I remember when we first moved in, my uncles, my tias, like a lot of them were helping us move in and just get the house together. And by us, I mean my mom and my dad, because I was too little. I was just probably playing Barbies or something. So they're like helping move in, all this stuff, and my uncle painted the outside of our house pink, like the pink trimming. The garage door is pink till this day. And then my mom and my tias and stuff, they start planting little like rose bushes. I don't know what they're called, but they start planting and they're just making it a really, really beautiful home. So I remember like we get the house going, it's so beautiful. And then shortly after, my sister is born, and you know, we're just having the best time in the world. And the way the house was set up, it was 3 rooms. So my mom had the master bedroom by the entrance, and then in the back there was 2 more rooms, and one of them became my sister and mine's room for a long time, and the other one was a office for my mom because she worked from home. You know, she started her planning business back then, and so that was her office, and it was really cute. Really, really cute. And the first couple years, you know, we were chilling. Nothing really happened, at least that I'm aware of, at all. And everyone just had a great time. Like people, my family would come over and we do carne asadas, and it was just a fun house. It was fun times. We got close with the neighbors. It was just cool. It was like in this like cul-de-sac, or it is still there in this cute cul-de-sac, and just overall it was great. But then this is where it starts getting weird. A couple years later, when my sister was about 2 or 3, my tia got pregnant with her first child, and she was going to have, or she does have, a beautiful little baby boy. And, you know, it's super cute. We're all excited for her. She at the time was living in Mexico, but coming over. And just, you know, we loved all hanging out. And so then my little cousin, he is born in 2002. And so I don't remember what or why, but they were over at the house. It was, I want to say it was all 4 of my tias, my mom, my sister, myself, obviously, and then my little cousin, the one that was just born. And we were all just hanging out. You know, like me, my sister, and my little cousin were playing in one of the rooms. And my tias and my mom were just hanging out in the kitchen. Well, not the kitchen, but the dining room area. And it had already been happening where my tias would hear like a baby crying, and they would think it was my little cousin. But then they go and check, and he was perfectly fine. He was either just like hanging out, or he was asleep, or just, you know, just chilling. He was just doing his thing. And so they kind of started getting a little bit freaked out. But my mom was just like, I don't think so. Like, I don't think anything's happening, whatever. And so this goes on for like a couple times when they would come over with the baby, and they would just hear crying coming from a room where the baby was. But then they would go and no one was there. No one was crying. And he was, like I said, hanging out, or he was asleep, and so it was not him crying. But they clearly could hear a little baby cry going on. And so it was like weird, like, okay. They didn't want to think too much about it. They were a little bit freaked out, but they were just like whatever. So they kind of ignored it. They kept pushing it away until they literally couldn't. Because one time they were in the dining room, and the way it was set up, it's like the dining room area had a perfect shot view into the hallway that leads to the 2 rooms and the restroom. and the restroom is right next to the second bedroom. And so they were all just hanging out, they're all talking, when out of nowhere, one of my tias sees my little cousin crawling from the second bedroom into the restroom. And she's like, oh my god, like, let's stop him because he is a crawling baby and the bathroom is not where a crawling baby belongs. And so she rushes over to stop him from going in there, and there is no one in the restroom. And so she's like freaking out because she literally just saw my cousin crawling into the restroom. So why is he not there? So she's freaking out. And now my other tias are like looking for this baby. And he is just asleep in the room still. So it's not like he walked away or anything. He literally was still asleep in the room. And so that happens. And everyone's like, okay, that's really, really creepy. That is so weird. And I remember my tia telling me about it. How, not the baby's mom, but my other tia, the one that saw the baby crawling. She was like, that was so weird. I don't know, whatever. But also my tias kind of like pushed it off as maybe like she's imagining things. You know, you never know. People love to freak people out, especially my family. And so it was just kind of like pushed off. And so that happened, right? And that was the first sighting of this crawling baby. Then, you know, we move on, or they move on. A couple months go by, and one of my tias, I think another one, not the same one that saw it the first time, but one of my tias, she is helping my mom and us around the house. She would help us like with the chores and the cleaning and watching my sister and I sometimes, and just like overall like helping my mom out like that. And so one time she was home alone and I was at school. My mom and my sister were I don't know where. But when we come back, she tells us how she kept hearing a baby crying from the room that they saw the baby crawling out of. And so that was kind of weird, but you know, it just kind of whatever. But then this continues on for a couple of years. But the weird part about this is that as the years went on, this baby, this entity, kind of grew with the timeline. So, for example, like at first when this child was first spotted, he was a baby. He was crying, he was crawling. After a couple months, it was like instead of crawling, you would see, or a couple years, you would see like a toddler running from that bedroom into the restroom. And I saw this kid a couple times, and it was always like, because that later became my room, which there's so many stories in that room that I am so excited to get into. So this entity was growing with the timeline, and it was just a thing. It was a thing that would happen. And I remember when I was young, like when I was 6 probably, I remember talking with a friend, like an imaginary friend, and like I think 6 is a little old to be having imaginary friends, right? I don't know. I really don't know what's old for imaginary friends, but I would assume 6 is a little old for that. And that was a thing. And then one of my little cousins, not the baby, but an older, like this other cousin, he's between my sister's and mine's age. And I remember he came over one time when he was little, and he would talk about this friend that he had in our house, and I don't remember the name of it. Maybe I'll reach out and ask him if he remembers. But basically, he had an imaginary friend, and it really freaked his mom out because she would like be walking in the hallway in the house, and she would hear him have long conversations, walk into the second bedroom and be like, "Who are you talking to?" And he was like, "Oh, it's my friend, whatever," and it was a boy's name. And so clearly there was something in that house, and a lot of us saw it. A lot of us experienced it. And that's what I feel like. That's why I want to share these stories. Because I'm like, if it's just happening to me, that I'm just fucking crazy, or I'm imagining stuff. But when it happens to multiple people, and it's like a repeated story of like, oh yeah, this is my experience, and like, oh yeah, this is my experience, and they're not identical, but they definitely like correspond and like go with each other, then you know what, maybe it's not crazy, and maybe it's just that there is something there. You know, this entity, I don't know what it is. And it's also weird because I would say, oh, maybe it's like a past spirit that passed away in the house or something like that. But the house is a new build, so that's not possible. What is possible though is that maybe it comes within the land and not just the home itself. It's obviously still growing with the timeline, and it doesn't seem to be going anywhere. I asked my mom recently. I talk to my mom often, so if I ever, like in the videos, I'm like, I talked to my mom about it recently, it's because I literally talk to her on a daily basis. But I asked her, I was like, hey, like, do you remember this? And she's like, yeah, I kind of do remember that. And then I was like, does it still happen? Because I remember seeing not just this kid, but like so many things happening, from like knocking of windows to like people knocking in the back door when it's like a glass door and you could clearly see there's no one, or like people peeking into your room, not from the outside but from like the door that's in the house. So like it's just weird. And she said that that doesn't happen anymore, but that she sages very regularly and is always playing like high frequency music. So maybe that's kind of like stopped it. But I don't know. I've never heard of an entity that grows with time and just kind of like follows the timeline. I've heard of like entities being stuck in loops, which has happened in another story that I'm going to share with you guys from a different home we lived in. And I've heard that entities kind of roam, but they stay stuck in whatever age or decade that they passed. So I find it very interesting with this particular entity, that I kind of just, it's like it's alive, it's like it's human, and he continues to grow and age with time. So I don't know, like, what do you guys think it is? What do you think about it? Do you think that it's actually a past soul that passed away when they were a baby? Is it maybe, I don't know. I don't know what it could be. I have no explanation. It never has interacted to where it's like very seen or visible, at least not to me, not to my tias, I don't think, but definitely to my cousin, the one that was like imaginary friend. Because even I remember when I had the imaginary friend, or like this friend that I talked to when I was like 6, I don't remember ever like actually seeing it. I just like remember knowing it was there, which is weird. And then when I would see it, it would be like out of the corner of my eye, or when I was like laying down in bed, I would see like movement and I would know it was it. But yeah, I don't think anyone has ever seen like a face to it. Even when in the story I'm sharing tomorrow, where I would see this, I'm assuming it's the same entity peeking into my mom's room. Even though I would see it peeking in, like I never really was able to put out facial features or anything like that. So I don't know what, I'm really curious to know what you think. Do you just feel like all of us are crazy and imagining the same shit? Or do you feel like there might be something more? I forgot to contour my nose. I think I don't want to though. Maybe I'll just add a little bit of blush. What do you think? Do you think, like I said, we're all crazy? We imagine the same thing? And even if that's the case, like, even if you're like, yeah, it's just like y'all are imagining the same shit, then how does that work? Because I've never heard of people imagining the same experiences, but different and in different times at different times or anything like that. So I'm curious about that. So yeah, with that said, thank you guys so much for tuning into today's episode, day 3 of Ghosts and Glam. I hope you enjoyed this video and this makeup look. I kind of want to experiment with more Halloween-y makeups, but we will see where that goes. And yeah, if you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. I would love to hear your thoughts on this story and the rest of the series because I really have no explanation for it. Until tomorrow, stay happy, be happy, keep creating the life you desire because you deserve it. And I will talk to you, well, tomorrow. Until then, like I said, subscribe and follow me on Instagram. Please help me reach 100 subscribers here on YouTube before the end of October because it's just a little fun goal. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.